Okay, I wanted to throw this together. This is specifically on PCOS. So I want to address PCOS girls who have maybe been diagnosed with it, have been questioning if they have it or not. And also to just to say that yes, tapping is my primary tool, but I move in and out of so many different tools and have so many amazing things that have helped me on my journey and work with the healers around me that I really just fold them all in. And unless you sit with me one-on-one, you really aren't going to know all of the different tools that I use. So tapping is amazing for undergirding any of the other work that you do. So let's say you go to therapy on Mondays, you come to me on Wednesdays, we're going to be able to undergird your therapy session by digging a little bit deeper with the tapping. Maybe if you're on a new like fitness challenge and you're trying to eat differently and work out differently and you have some eating disorder history, we're going to use tapping to help reduce those triggers and charges as you move forward with the new journey. So tapping is just overall so rapid, so gentle. And at any time that I'm with a client, whether we're doing whether I'm really coaching her, whether we're doing deliverance work, whether we're just chit-chatting about life experience, anytime that charge comes up, we can just start tapping and we can continue whatever work that we are doing together, but we use the tapping to help lower the cortisol while we're doing the work in order to bring blood flow into the brain. So the reason I'm bringing up PCOS right now is because I feel like I'm supposed to bring it to you. And also because if I don't make this video, I'm going to have to go do like chores and stuff because I gave myself a break. And so I wanted to connect with you since I don't get to do this very often. So if PCOS is a thing, listen up, save this video, come back to it. I'm not a master at making videos, so I'm gonna do my best here. I do want to give you some things to kind of screenshot and read, so I'll figure out the best way to incorporate that. So I actually am not an expert on PCOS. I'm not an expert on a lot of physical ailments, but what I really, really understand are the emotional and spiritual components that fuel physical disease. So I know that a lot of the people I'm talking to here and a lot of people in general have really kind of gone big, been a part of I want to call it big pharma. You know, you've used antibiotics and antidepressants and anxiety meds and pain meds, and if you still do, that's fine. That, you know, that's where you're at, but there's a big movement away from that world of, you know, kind of medicate the symptom, and a big draw and pull into let's look at for the root cause of that symptom. And unfortunately, what a lot of people are discovering is that doctors are just trained in the specialty they're trained in, and they're not really looking at, for example, dentists aren't really looking at your mouth as an organ. They're not looking at how it functions with the rest of your body and emotions, whereas a biological dentist is going to take into consideration that your mouth is an organ. So this is for people who are kind of at the point of going, you know what, yes, PCOS is a physical symptom. It has, you know, physical ailments to it, but I'm really believing that what these doctors are telling me and telling me my labs are normal, and that this is just something I'm gonna have to live with the rest of my life. I'm starting to feel like maybe there's got to be another solution. So for me, the biggest heaviest hitter is always going to be deliverance work. Deliverance work is very spiritual, it's very biblical, and it's really just understanding that a lot of things that we call feelings are actually very heavy spiritual entities that really just want to get in the way of our purpose, if you think about it that way. And so they're kind of pestering us, and we've got to really identify that and move it away. Some people aren't there yet. Call this emotions, okay? So the first book that I love when we're looking at physical disease, okay, and trying to find the root. And yes, I'm talking about cancer and diabetes and high blood pressure. Literally, like everything, okay, can have a very emotional and spiritual root. So this is my first favorite book. It's only 20 bucks on Amazon. It's a really, really incredible man who actually recently passed, and he's partnering. He's a pastor. He's got his doctorate And he worked with medical MDs, but they partnered really well together, really to say, hey, listen, this can't be all just physical, because there's people being healed by prayer, okay, and people being healed doing the emotional work. And so they put this beautiful book together. I would encourage you, if you want to, go to my Instagram, if you're not on it right now. If you go to the link in my bio, there's gonna be something that says my explanation of the 8 R's, and that's gonna be a part of this book. So that video I did on the 8 R's is one of my favorite concepts ever. You do not have to be a Jesus follower in order to receive healing through the name of Jesus. He came for sinners, okay? He came for all of us. He did not come just for people who sit in church and try to look pretty on Sundays, okay? So that's this book. It's going to be really amazing at supporting the physical ailments that are going on in a body, as long as maybe the spiritual components that are fueling those physical ailments. And the reason this works is cortisol. Don't worry too much about the why in all the differences of diseases and emotions and spiritual stuff, but all you have to think of is cortisol. So anytime we're stressed, okay, emotionally, physically, whatever it is, our cortisol spikes, okay? And when our cortisol spikes, just like I tell you in tapping, our blood leaves our brain, goes out to our arms and our legs so that we can run or hide. So the problem with that is that a lot of the times that we feel stressed now and we have this cortisol spike, we really don't need to be running or hiding from something that's trying to kill us. And so this over secretion of cortisol creates essentially a habit in our body that we need to be very afraid of a lot of things that we don't need to be afraid of. So depending on the different emotional or spiritual components, it's going to affect people differently physically. Also, it does go back into, some of the biology and genetics, which is a whole other story. Okay, so there's that book. And then the other book that I absolutely love is really just dealing with the emotional, the metaphysical, okay, anatomy. This one's incredible. I think both of them team up really well together. There's not a single physical disease that I've looked up in both books and that they didn't work really well hand in hand. So basically what I'm saying is, like, if I look up, breast cancer in the spiritual, physical book, and then I look up breast cancer in the metaphysical book, they're going to be very, very similar, which is encouraging because, a lot of my girls are Christians, and a lot of my girls aren't. And either way, you can get the work done, because it doesn't matter, necessarily if you start with the spiritual component or the emotional component, you are going to be lowering your cortisol, addressing an issue, and healing. So PCOS. If I look up PCOS, okay, on the Google, which, just so you know, I don't trust Google. I don't trust the powers that be. I don't think that they say anything that's necessarily true or really even supportive to the natural, healthy systems of a body. I believe that there's a much bigger agenda out there when it comes to diagnoses in medicine, because there's a lot of money to be made. Okay. And I'm not saying there's not a time and place for medicine and doctors at all. I have surgery next week. Okay. I need a doctor for that. So if I just look up polycystic ovarian syndrome, the first thing that I get is, it says a hormonal disorder causing enlarged ovaries with small cysts on the outer edges. Now, anyone who understands PCOS better than I do can confirm that or not. I'm not saying what it is. I'm saying what I'm told it is if I look it up on Google. I would imagine that part is accurate. Okay, but then it says the cause of polycystic ovarian syndrome isn't well understood, but may involve a combination of genetic and environmental factors. I call BS on this, okay? And I don't want to go off on a tangent, but the reason I call BS on this is because I know that people are healed from PCOS through the emotional, spiritual work. Okay, so if you've got, I'm just gonna say doctors, okay, and people who look at the science and the physical stuff, they're gonna be like, yeah, I mean, we don't really understand it. It could involve genetic stuff. It could involve environmental stuff. Maybe all that's true, but here's the thing. If all you're looking at is genetics and environment, and the physical body, all you're going to get is that physical matter, okay? But if you actually take the time and energy to go in to look at, like, genealogy and ancestral, we could call ancestral, like, pains, discomforts, generational sin, behavior patterns, okay, then of course they're not going to know what the underlying issue is, because they're not even, it's like they're not even looking. It's like if your kid is missing and you only look in the house for your kid, you might not find your kid. You can't stay in the house looking for the kid and just say that he's gone forever. You have to actually like walk out the front door and look at the bigger picture, right? And so that's what these two books are doing, is they're really saying, hey, let's look at the spiritual, emotional components. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to, for the people, because if this is just for one of you, I really, really, really mean it. This is literally what I did yesterday with somebody, and this is literally what I did today with somebody. I cannot believe how often we're tapping on something and then somebody blurts out that they have this diagnosis, and I'm like, hey, you know what, let's just go ahead and check this diagnosis out in these books, and let's just decide together if any of the emotional components actually feel true for you. And what's amazing is most of the time we get through like one or two sentences and we've got full tears. Oh my gosh, that's so true. And then all these memories start coming up. Boom, bring in tapping and breathing. Let's just not even read any further. Let's tap and breathe, because here's the thing. If there's like a page or two on every single one of these diseases, I'm just gonna call them all diseases, and we get through only one sentence that's explaining what could be the emotional root, that's a lot we have to tap on. And all of these different triggers in life are basically creating this like protective netting. And so now this disease and this diagnosis is very held tight by all these limiting beliefs, all these lies, all these behavior patterns. So what I want you to do, if you kind of want to use this as an experience that that I do on a regular basis with people, I would like you to actually take a nice deep cleansing breath in through your nose and blow it out. And I want you to check the clock, because I do want to make sure that you have some time for this, as it can be very emotional. Okay, it can also be really exciting, because what do we want as women? We want to fix things. We want to be in control. We want answers. If we get answers, then we can fix things, and then we can be in control. And so with our health, especially, things can feel very, very out of control and we don't have the answers. And so once we have an answer, sometimes we get overwhelmed again with everything that's required. But I just want to tell you, be very excited about this, because with this work, once you realize, oh my goodness, this might be a contributing factor, then I'm going, now I have something to actually work with. But if you're tapping and breathing and tapping and breathing and just feeling it and just noticing it, you are actually getting the work done. So for my Instagram people who aren't going to be able to watch more than 3 minutes, I want you to just go ahead over into my profile and click on my YouTube link, and it's going to move you over. You're going to be able to watch the rest of this video. So if you would please take a nice deep breath in through your nose, blow it out, make sure you have some time, and know where your pause button is. Okay, I want you to know where your pause button is, because there could be a point where I read something and you feel this like wave of emotions, and I want you to use this as an opportunity to be really curious and also get some healing. So in that moment, I want you to just hit pause and stay there as long as you need to, tapping through the points. I will tap for a little bit, and then you're gonna have to remember the points. If you wanna tap on your own, because I'm paused and you don't know the points, all I want you to do is just pick one and tap on it. So go ahead, take another deep breath in, blow it out. What I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna read this to you, because I think it's really important to have it read to you. So tap through these points, pause it if something feels heavy, and sit on that heaviness until something moves. All right, so polycystic ovarian syndrome, we have a lot of different topics in this book we could actually move over to and check out that are very related. So I'm just reading one, and there's actually acne, cyst, ovary problems, cancer, depression, diabetes type 1 and 2, hormone problems, infertility, and weight problems. So there's 10 different topics in this book that I could turn to and read that are connected to polycystic ovarian syndrome. So I want you to just keep that in mind, because this is going to be so rich that that you have a lot more hope in things that we're going to read and see if they actually fit. Okay. So take a nice deep breath in through your nose, blow it out. All right. And here's just what it says that they have found over time that's consistent with women with PCOS. You feel blocked when connecting to your feminine side. It is one thing to show and to project it, but it's an entirely different scenario to feel it and be connected to it. Remember to pause me if something feels heavy. I really want you to get this experience like we're together and I'm reading this to you and you can go, whoa, I need to sit on this and think about it for a minute. Okay. You have had periods of your life when you have had to be more masculine. You were often relied on to cope with very stressful circumstances. You may have seen your mother become helpless in her life due to too many expectations and responsibilities. This may be the result of challenging relationship issues, jealousy toward a child, or not being able to cope with her life. You had to remain strong and be a shoulder to cry on. Okay. So don't forget to breathe. And the reason that we're tapping is because anything in here that does cause that cortisol spike due to childhood memories or suppressed memories, you're actually doing the work right now and you're keeping your cortisol down and just declaring your safety in this moment, that it's safe to just read this and to be curious. Okay. You had to remain strong and to be a shoulder to cry on. You may be confused as to what your actual role in the family should be. Looking back, you realize you've been playing the role of a victim due to circumstances which require you to step into a certain role into which you felt trapped. You've held a high level of responsibility from a very young age. You often feel challenged by your sexuality. It feels safer to be more masculine, so that side is more noticeable. You don't feel beautiful and do not enjoy your natural beauty. You may have witnessed women or female authorities being demeaned or belittled, and so made an association with femininity and disrespect. One thing that's not listed here, but that I do think can be very connected, is also if you were molested by a female as a female. I think that actually takes the same holds the same power as being demeaned or belittled. Okay. Men were valued more, therefore you choose to be more masculine. In order to do so, you had to work on building a tough exterior for protection. You may feel that everything has to be hard and challenging. If it's too easy, you'll fail. Okay. All right. So take a nice deep breath in through your nose and blow it out. All right. So, I will also try to include a link, and I think that you can get this app on your phone. So here's what's cool. That's usually the part where we sit and we tap, okay? And we tap through it. And when something comes up and it's heavy, we tap through it. That's why I want you to use your pause button, and I want you to feel and tap and breathe and feel and tap and breathe and feel and tap and breathe and just use this as a guide. Why are we doing this? Why are we hashing this stuff up? Because it brings healing. You want healing, okay? It brings healing. We're not saying, oh, I guess I have this diagnosis. I guess I'm gonna have it forever. Now I wanna know what caused it. No, in knowing what caused it and in doing this work, we're actually doing the healing of your physical body so that it can help release the things that it's holding on to, keeping you protected and safe. And you're saying, I don't need to be protected and saved from this anymore. I'm actually safe to notice it, feel it, move through it and process it. So I am believing that my client who can't have babies because of PCOS is going to continue doing this emotional work, and she's going to be able to have babies because there's a lot of blocks here, and her body is basically saying, nope, not safe for you to have babies, especially if a part of you feels like a man, if a part of you feels like you're not allowed to be feminine, if a part of you feels like you were a mistake, and so then your kids might feel like they're a mistake. There's a lot of limiting beliefs that cause our body to hold us hostage. I totally, completely believe that healing comes from this, and so that's what you want, and that's why you're doing it. Sometimes cleaning out a dirty closet gets really dirty before it cleans up, right? That's all we're doing with emotional work, is we're saying, hey, listen, I'm willing to look at this. It's going to get a little harder first, but I'm going to process through it for the healing that I've been wanting. You have to be an active participant in your work. You can't just go do Reiki or go do like muscle testing and have somebody clear an emotion out of you. You can't just go to people and have them just fix it and clear it. I really believe that there's a time and place for that too. You absolutely have to be an active participant in this work, okay? So next, what they say in this book, okay, and we'll only be here for, I don't know, maybe 5 more minutes. It actually gives you tips and tricks and tools on things to look into in order to further your work. I wouldn't even go any further if I were you until you tapped through every single thing that came up in that last portion that I just did. All right, so this would be your next step. So save this video because this is going to be really cool for a lot of you. Explore ancestral trauma related to wives being abandoned or left by their parents. This may have caused you to take on more traditionally masculine roles, jobs, and responsibilities. Having to be as strong as a man for survival. Women being raised in harsh conditions and treated like men. There may have been conflict between your parents about the desire for a boy or a girl during conception stages. Explore further possibilities. So I could be telling you that, like, oh, that's true for this client, that's true for this client, that's true for this client, this is true for the last client, this is true. Like, every time we read this, we're like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. That's so true. That's so true for me. Okay. So there may have been conflicts between your parents about the desire for a boy or a girl. What made you take on the role of sole supporter or comforter for others during childhood? How did this make you feel? Explore further possibilities. Do you enjoy being a female? If not, why? What happened to make you feel this way? Did you witness men treating women in a degrading way? This may have made you decide that it's safer to be more masculine than feminine. Explore this in the ancestry line. Which responsibility made you feel like you were losing control? Why did you have this responsibility? Was it a reasonable responsibility? If no, then explore this. How did it make you feel to be in that position? Okay. There's a history of sexual abuse in the ancestry line. This type of trauma may have encouraged females to develop qualities that are more masculine in order to keep themselves safe from harm. Resentment and anger towards men, along with deep need to protect themselves. This is related to ancestral trauma. Okay. Buildup, anger, high blood pressure, resentment, and vengeance in your mother had an impact on you in utero. Okay. So these aren't things you necessarily physically ever saw in your mom, but this is, the impact that being in utero when she was angry and resentful had on your body, because we really do feel what our mothers are feeling. That's why a lot of stuff's not ours. Explore whether this had an impact on your hormonal development. You feel challenged by your sexuality. Why? What would happen if you expressed it? Some people feel very angry when this question is raised. It seems from being suppressed, taken advantage of, or laughed at and abused by men. Feel belittled and degraded for being a female. Why? What happened? What made you feel this way? Okay, explore further possibilities. What is the benefit of being in control of everything, along with feeling responsible for everyone? Explore this. And when the pattern started. What must change in your life in order for you to embrace your femininity? Explore further possibilities. Explore any resentment towards your mother. You may feel that she failed in her role and you had to step in. Explore more possibilities. You find it challenging to connect to men. Why? What happened in the past that made you feel this way? Explore the relationship with your father or influential male figure. Love equals abuse. Your need for love may have been met by abuse, hostility, or jealousy in reflection. You feel that everything had to be hard and challenging, otherwise you will fail if it's too easy. You don't know how to be happy without always being in the middle of a challenge. This is a familiar pattern. You know how to survive in challenging circumstances. Okay, can you see now how like you could have hit pause like 95 times by now? Okay, so I really want you to use this as a helpful tool to move through a lot of healing. I really, really, truly believe we don't need more information in this world. What we need is to apply the information we already have. So I'm going to give you this information. Don't go search any further on how to cure your PCOS until you've moved through everything that I've read, tapped through all of it, and explored all of it. It could take 6 months, okay? Explore the womb stages. Did your mother smoke or was she with a partner that smoked? How did this affect fetal development stages, especially the fetal hormones? Did she consume alcohol or use medication while she was pregnant? Did she have thyroid issues while she was pregnant? Explore how this may have affected you in utero. Okay, so that's everything on PCOS in this book, but remember we had 10 other topics we can look up that are connected. So I'm going to try to leave some comments in there. I want you to take responsibility for your own work. This is all work that is very doable for you to just breathe and tap and breathe and tap and breathe and tap and breathe and tap. Be excited and be curious, because until you know this is true, I know that it is true, that you're totally worthy of healing, okay? Super, super worthy of healing. But you need to just act as if you are and just take some steps doing some of this work, because unfortunately, you're not gonna unlock or dislodge a physical ailment without also being willing to do some of the emotional, spiritual work. Stay in touch with me on this. Let me know if you have any questions. Please feel free to share whatever you want to with me. I'm very safe. And of course, if you ever want to do work on this together, let me know. I'm scheduling out about 6 weeks at this point, and at the point of making this video, it's March 11th. So let me know if you want to do that, and I would be absolutely honored to sit with you on this. This is another thing too, where we can fold in, 20 women into a group and meet for 6 weeks, specifically focusing on PCOS. All I need is people who are interested in that, and we can put it together. Groups are very, very, very special, because even if your story is different, the feelings are the same. And then also you're kind of committed to a group, committed to showing up, and also with people who actually do have very similar stories. And there's a lot of safety and privacy in that. Another thing too is, because this is energy work, you're actually partnering with each other to do the work with each other and for each other. And so it actually can really expedite results and kind of hit a different type of deep level. Let me know if you have any questions. Please let me know if this helped you. Also, if you know of anybody who has PCOS, be very thoughtful and considerate if you are going to pass this information on to them. Some people have a hard time even being open to that it could be spiritual or emotional, and it can feel offensive to them to be told that it could be, because it just feels too unfamiliar, and it feels like you're saying that they're wrong. So just be very considerate and prayerful about your approach. Letting somebody know this video reminded me of you, and I really love you. And maybe you'll connect with this and maybe you won't. But when we love people, we want to give them some answers. Okay, thank you. And I'm looking forward to hearing what you thought about this and if any of that resonated with you.